Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a closer look at Varrio Nuevo Estrada, VNE 13 as they're often called.
Right. A significant group in East Los Angeles.
Yeah, and you pulled together some really interesting sources for us. We've got Wikipedia, some academic stuff from Vigil, and more.
Vigil's Rainbow of Gangs and more is going down to the barrio. Foundational texts.
And then Alice Bagg's memoir, Violence Girl, which sounds intense.
It offers a really personal perspective. Plus, there's a legal document, a city attorney filing against VNE.
Okay, and a report from streetgangs.com, and even something from CNN. Quite a mix.
It is. It should give us a good cross-section.
So the plan today is really to unpack all this. We want to understand, where VNE came from, how they operate, their culture, basically get a clear picture based on these materials.
Exactly. Extract the key details, understand their origins, their evolution, and why they're, well, significant in East LA and the wider gang landscape.
All right, let's start with the basics then. History and location. It sounds like VNE goes way back.
Yeah, decades. Yeah. The sources, Wikipedia and Vigil specifically, they point to the 1940s.
The 40s? Wow.
Right in the Estrada Courts housing projects. Boyle Heights.
And what was going on then? How did it start?
Well, it seems tied to government policies back then.
You're right.
Relocating low-income families into these projects.
Ah, okay.
And sometimes when you concentrate poverty and maybe social issues like that, it can inadvertently create conditions where groups like gangs form for identity protection, that kind of thing.
So it wasn't just random. There were social factors at play.
Seems likely, yeah. A response to the circumstances.
And they're clearly not a group that just faded away. Still considered prominent today.
Very much so. The Wikipedia info mentions them as one of, 34 gangs in just a 15-square-mile area east of downtown.
34?
Yeah.
That's incredibly dense.
It really is. Speaks volumes about that specific part of LA, the social dynamics. Moore's book probably gets into that evolution over time.
The fact they've lasted this long, maintained prominence, that alone is significant.
Absolutely. It's not a flash in the pan.
And they didn't just stay put in Estrada Courts, did they?
No. The info shows they spread out. Other parts of East LA, Montebello.
Montebello, right. And even further out.
Yeah, Lancaster.
Yeah.
Up in the Antelope Valley.
That's a fair distance from Boyle Heights.
It is. And with that spread, you get these different cliques popping up.
Cliques, like subgroups.
Exactly. Wikipedia actually lists a whole bunch. Back in Estrada Courts, you've got names like Tiny Winos, Tiny Locos, Devils, Ninos, Chicos, a lot of them.
Okay.
Then in Montebello, TikToks, and another Tiny Locos group.
Huh. Same name, different place.
It happens. And up in Lancaster and Rosemont, it's the Primos clique. Then there's South Hill, covering parts of Montebello, Bell Gardens, Downey.
So it's like these local chapters under the main VNE banner.
Sort of.
Yeah.
They share the VNE identity, might cooperate, but often have their own turf, maybe their own internal issues too. It's complex.
But interestingly, it seems like despite that spread, there's still very much a Southern California thing, right? Los Angeles County, mostly.
That's what the sources suggest. No confirmed subgroups really outside of SoCal.
So regional expansion, but not national.
Exactly. Underscores how localized many of these gang structures can be, even if they're very impactful within their territory.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Talk about the culture within VNE. Something that jumped out was this focus on members who've died.
That's a big theme. The Wikipedia entry mentions it, this reverence for those who died in the Varrio.
And that mural on Hunter Street from '73.
Yeah, by Daniel Martinez. That's highlighted as a really key example. It's like a physical monument to their history, their losses as they see it.
A way to remember, to build that group identity.
Definitely. Reinforces that sense of history, sacrifice, continuity. It's powerful how a physical space, a piece of art, can embody so much for a group like this.
And beyond memorials, what about core values? The sources mention the usual suspects almost. Respect, loyalty.
Right. Trustworthiness, too. Pretty common in many gang structures, but essential. It's the social glue, really.
Holding things together internally.
Especially in environments where maybe you don't trust outsiders. These internal codes become crucial for order, for knowing where you stand.
Now, this connection to the Mexican Mafia and the Sureño banner, that seems really important for understanding their place in the bigger picture.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
VNE isn't operating in a vacuum. Those long-standing ties to the Mexican Mafia, that's huge.
Mentioned in multiple sources.
Yeah, Wikipedia, Vigil likely talks about it too. It's a major influence.
And the Sureño thing, how does that work?
So within the California prison system, many Southern California Hispanic gangs align under the Sureño banner, which is ultimately overseen by the Mexican Mafia.
Even if they fight each other on the street.
Yes, that's the paradox. Street rivalries might exist, but inside prison, that Sureño identity often trumps local beefs. It provides protection, a network.
So VNE identifies as Sureño in that context.
Correct. It's part of that larger prison-based power structure. It influences things inside and sometimes even outside prison walls. It's not just a label. It affects alliances, power dynamics.
Wow. So there's this whole other layer of organization once you get into the correctional system.
Precisely. Prison politics are different. That Sureño affiliation offers structure, protection, a broader identity within that system.
Okay. Let's move on to the criminal activity aspect. The sources paint a pretty stark picture.
Yeah, it's a wide range. Murder, drug trafficking, racketeering, extortion, assaults, drive-bys, illegal gambling.
Yeah.
It's all mentioned.
And serious enough that the authorities stepped in legally, that injunction.
Right. The LA City attorney filing for a permanent gang injunction back in 2004, that's a major step.
What does an injunction actually do?
Essentially, it imposes civil restrictions on known gang members in specific geographic areas, safety zones, things like associating with other known members in public, possessing certain items, maybe even curfews.
Trying to disrupt their ability to operate openly.
That's the goal. The legal document we have probably lays out the city's case, the evidence of VNE being a public nuisance, basically.
But despite that injunction, the sources say VNE still holds influence?
It seems so. It highlights the challenge, doesn't it? Legal tools like injunctions can disrupt things, make it harder for them, but they don't necessarily eliminate the gang or the underlying issues.
It's not a magic bullet.
Far from it. Deeply rooted groups often find ways to adapt or maintain control, even under pressure.
And where does their money come from, primarily?
The sources consistently point towards street-level narcotics distribution. Selling drugs seems to be the main economic engine.
Like many street gangs, unfortunately.
Yes, it's a common pattern. Provides cash flow, but also fuels a lot of the violence and other problems associated with gangs.
We also saw the specific news examples, that 2007 StreetGangs.com article.
Right, about a gang-related murder, a reward being offered, puts a specific incident to the general activity.
And the 2011 CNN report linking a VNE member to that awful beating at the baseball game.
Yeah, that brought the name VNE to a much wider audience, linking it to a seemingly random act of extreme violence.
It really grounds the discussion, doesn't it? Shows the real-world impact.
Absolutely. Moves it beyond just statistics or descriptions. These are real events affecting real people and communities.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, we've seen Varrio Nuevo Estrada isn't new. Deep roots back to the 40s in Boyle Heights, tied into those housing projects and social shifts.
Right. And they grew, spread out within LA County, Montebello, Lancaster forming various cliques.
But still primarily a Southern California group. Culturally, there's that strong emphasis on remembering fallen members, symbolized by things like that mural.
And the core gang values, respect, loyalty, plus those crucial links.
So the Mexican Mafia and the Sureño network, especially within the prison system, that's key context.
And criminally, involved in a whole range of serious activities, funded largely by drug sales, and still influential despite legal actions like that injunction.
That sums it up pretty well. It's a complex picture of a long-standing group, woven into the fabric of parts of East LA for decades.
So for anyone wanting to get up to speed quickly, this overview, drawing from all those different sources, gives a pretty solid foundation for understanding VNE.
I think so.
Yeah.
It connects the history, the structure, the culture, and the activities into a more coherent narrative.
It's definitely sobering seeing how these groups form and persist for so long.
It really is. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought to consider.
Yeah.
Given that VNE has been around for, 80 years? Despite law enforcement efforts, community programs, all of that.
Yeah.
What are the really deep underlying factors that allow groups like this to endure in communities?
Good question. Like, what's sustaining them beyond just the criminal side?
Exactly. And following on from that, what kind of fundamental changes, maybe societal changes, would actually be needed to shift that dynamic in the long run?
That goes way beyond just policing, doesn't it?
It does. It touches on poverty, opportunity, identity, community. Complex stuff. Something to think about.